let's get to our trivia answer here before we get to the Spurs. I'm going to sprinkle this in all season, but it's really going to put me under the bus if Bo Nix actually does start and he sucks. Then I'm going to really have to eat some crow. But anyway, let's get to the trivia answer. So, what year did the Spurs see the biggest single season turnaround? Chuck, give me your reasoning and thought process, and then give me your answer.
Off the top of my head, I'll just stay with this. Not that this has served me well by any stretch of the imagination. Was it the 97, 98 year, the year they got Tim? And did they get Tim in 97, 98, or was it? Yes, that was the year, right? Or was it 96, 97?
It was the year right before the strike season. That would be the year that you're talking about.
Well, yeah, 99 was the strike year, but I'll say it was the first year that Tim got to the Spurs. But who threw out Dave? That was a good one. You made me have to reconsider.
I've just given you guys all the options. Bob, you got a guess?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the same.
You can go with Chuck as well. Yeah. So I will tell you that the two seasons that are at the top of this list are separated by one win.
Really?
So the season that David Robinson came to the Spurs, 88-89, they went from 20 wins to 55 wins. So that was a 35-win jump. And I think it's 97-98, I believe you're correct. They went from 20 wins to 56 wins. So
go with your gut.
Chuck is correct, but it's crazy to me that they went from 20 to 55, 20 to 56 with the addition of one player. But that 97-98 season, it wasn't just the addition of one player. It was also David getting back healthy. It was Sean Elliott getting back healthy. It was Avery being healthy. It was all those guys that. The reason that they were a 20-win team wasn't because they didn't have the dudes. It was because they had the worst luck ever.
Right. And because of that and the injuries was the reason why they were even in the mix to get Tim and then have the ping pong balls go their way. So it was every now and then you got to get lucky.
Who was the coach that Pop replaced?
Bob Hill.
Yeah, that was a big improvement as well.
I mean,
I don't know, man. I like Bob
Hill.
I mean, Bob Hill won a lot of damn ball games.
Yeah,
in the NBA.
They had been in the playoffs like every single year under him. So, all right, let's get to the Spurs here. So the ESPN is the gift that keeps on giving sometimes when it comes to content and things for us to talk about because they need things to talk about on their shows. So they released a poll, I guess, from a lot of their experts and asked them to make predictions about this upcoming season. The experts basically rated the Spurs as the second most likely team to make that jump and make a major leap next season, right behind the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies, obviously, they're getting Ja Morant back. They just drafted Zach Edey. That is what it is. They have a lot of guys that didn't play last year that are now going to come back. Jaren Jackson Jr., who we know very well here in San Antonio. His father is still a coach here, I believe. He is back as well. They still have Desmond Bane. They still have a lot of guys. I thought it was interesting that they're picking the Spurs to be number 2 because as much as the team has improved this offseason, which we believe with the Chris Paul, with the Harrison Ingram, with the Harrison Barnes signings, like all of these things with Stephon Castle, all these things, we think their ceiling is 35, 40 wins. I mean, Don is thinking 45 would be maybe the ceiling there, but I don't know if they're a playoff team yet.
Yeah, I don't know either. But, I think the hope would be, at least for me, hopefully you have a 500 team here next year. Somebody that can compete for one of those bottom-end playoff spots. But, the way you put it, too, with Memphis, that's pretty sound reasoning as to why you think that. I mean, because if you can add a player like a Ja Morant and a talent like that, I mean, that's got to count for a lot.
Yeah, and then
that's one of the few guys in this league I would pay money to go watch play every single night.
And then
he's available.
Yeah, when he's not getting in trouble. Hopefully that's all behind him.
Yes.
What does a major leap look like? Is it 35 wins? Is it 40 wins? Or do they have to get to the David Robinson, Wemby type win total? Or, David Robinson, Timmy type win totals when they get to 55, 56 and go from 20 to 56?
Well, I think that would be the hope, right? If you're going to add what by most people's accounts is a generational type of talent, then you would hope that you'd be able to find some pieces to go along with, and then that would result in more wins. But I've said this a million times, man, this is a league waiting to be had. There's only a handful of teams that I feel like play the game the right way, that have the right players. The rest of these teams are just fodder for those teams. And if you can get any semblance of moving this thing going in the right direction, you could steamroll, I think, at some point.
You also have the West is so stacked, though. Like, how do you make that leap when most of your games are coming against the better conference? That's a question that needs to be answered, and we won't be answered until.
But I mean, again, it's like how good is Phoenix? It's like they've got players, but how good are they as a team?
I think they're pretty good.
Well, they're going to be because they've got good players. What I'm saying is that what happens if that team learned how to play the right way and played unselfish and did the right thing?
Commenters, Robert Smith's in here almost every week. He says that he still believes the Spurs are about a 30-35 win team.
First of all, Robert, thank you for watching and listening. Second of all, 30 would be a disappointment.
Yep. I think so.
I think their over-under right now is 35.5 at Sportsbooks.
That's where I'm going.
36.5, something like that.
Vegas knew last year, right?
Vegas made us all look really dumb last year.
So when in doubt, err on the side of Vegas.
So, but I mean, if they're putting it at 35, 36, saying plus or minus 4 or 5 wins wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. So whether it's 31 or 41, I think that they're closer to a 41-win team than they are a 31-win team.
I'm with you on that.
But when you look at the West and you have to compete with OKC, Denver, Minnesota, the Clippers, we don't know how good the Clippers are going to be without PG-3 this year, or PG-13, excuse me. Dallas just went to the went to the World Series, went to the finals this past year.
Well, they did.
Yeah, they did. You're right. Yes. You're right. Texas. Phoenix. How good is Phoenix going to be? We don't know. The Lakers. How good are the Lakers going to be? New Orleans. Are they going to take another leap? Zion's saying he's going to be down to 272 and is trying to stay on the court the entire year. So we'll see how that goes. Sacramento. Going to be another good team. They had a down year last year, but you never know how good Sacramento is going to be. Is Golden State going to take a leap? Is Houston going to take a leap? You have all of these teams that potentially could be on, upsetting our vision for the Spurs is the best way I can think to put it.
Yes, because I think it's fair to assume that Houston's going to be better. The Sacramento Kings look like one of those teams where you feel like at some point they're going to do the right things, and they've got players, right? So, yeah, but that's why we line them up and play, right? we're
gonna, like I said on Thursday, we're going to find out how good Houston and San Antonio are right when the season tips off. They play each other 3 times in the first 8 games, so we'll get a very good picture of those two teams.
And what you see, obviously, at the beginning of the season, maybe not what you see towards the end in regards to those two teams, but weird quirk that they would see them that much.
Let me ask you guys
early.
What do you think the value or how many wins is this like senior leadership they brought in to be on the floor? You know what I mean? Some actual team
5 to 10, right?
I would say at least 10, yeah. Everywhere Chris Paul has gone, he's won. He's improved every single team he's been on, whether that's by 5 wins, whether that's by 17 wins. I think when he went to OKC, they improved by like 17 wins. He improves teams because of the leadership, because of the skill set that he brings. When you have this young of a team, hopefully, and I think Pop has said this, they're receptive to that kind of leadership. They're receptive to those kinds of things.
Well, they damn well better be. That's right. I mean, that's the hope. But wow. Hopefully they'll be receptive to it. They damn well better be.
Yeah. The other thing that
what you're doing right now sure as hell ain't working.
The other thing that the ESPN, on that ESPN article, they made a prediction. Who is the most likely to be to make an all-star team for the first time? And obviously, Victor Wembanyama was far and away the top candidate there. 90% of people who voted Victor to be the most likely candidate to make an all-star team for the first time. I think, which leads to the question, what is his ceiling next year?
Yeah, you would expect him to be better and more comfortable with what's going on. Maybe a more defined role to start the year as opposed to last year at this time. And, if we're just talking all-stars, though, it's an exhibition. Why wouldn't you want to see somebody that, there's, I think, genuine curiosity about, even if you get right down to it and say, well, he may not have earned his way into over another guy or whatever. It's a freaking exhibition, right? At the end of the day, if I'm watching an exhibition, I'd rather see somebody that, I'm familiar with and that I'm curious about, as opposed to, maybe somebody that will have earned his way into there.
I have pretty high expectations for Victor next year for a couple of reasons. One, I think the addition of Chris Paul is going to greatly help. Even though we don't know what number Chris Paul is going to be wearing,
That's the question.
Keldon this past weekend said that he will be keeping number 3. So we don't know what the transaction is going to look like there for CP3 or CP13. I don't know. Anyway, I think that the addition of Chris Paul is really going to help
Or
Victor.
C3PO? Or C. Just have like a little Star Wars thing on it.
I think that you're going to see Victor's points per game go way up. I think you're going to see his efficiency rating go way up. I would be disappointed if he doesn't win Defensive Player of the Year, which he should win next year probably. I would be disappointed if he doesn't make an All-Pro team, which I think he could have made an argument that he should have made third team All-Pro this year, but the team was so bad that he didn't get the nod on a lot of these awards. If the Spurs are a 40-win team, let's just call it 40, and they're somewhere in the hunt for a playoff spot, he should be an All-Star, he should be an All-Pro, or a All-NBA team, he should be on the Defensive Player of the Year watch, he should be on an all-defensive team, he should be in the conversation for all of those things. And if they're that good, if they're in a 40-win team, he might even get a couple of votes for MVP.
And then I think, then again, it would be easier to digest some of this postseason stuff in terms of awards if the team is doing better, because then that would mean that he's doing other things too to make the team and bring the team along as well.
Yeah, I mean, the Spurs are going to go as far as Wemby takes them next year. And if he makes the leap that he showed, if his skill set grows like he showed in the Olympics, then I think that the sky's the limit. So, also, shout out to Yabusele, his teammate from France, who just signed with the 76ers. I think during all the Olympic coverage, we were like, dude, that guy belongs on an NBA roster. And now, here we go. Right. Garçon Yabusele is going to be making an NBA roster, so good for him. That's all we got for you today on the Sneakers and Cleats podcast. Bob, is that all we got for comments today?
It's a wrap.
It's a wrap? All right.
My name is Chuck. It rhymes with...
Don't get another song stuck in my head today, please.
Sorry.
I'm gonna go.
He said it's a wrap.
I'm gonna go watch more Bo Nix highlights at my cubicle.
That was an excellent throw on that touchdown that he threw. It was running away from pressure and diming it like that. And it was a laser.
I believe, guys. That's what we got for today on the Sneakers and Cleats podcast. Remember to join, rate, review, subscribe, give us a 5-star rating, tell a friend, tell an enemy. We'll be back on Thursday and probably talking more Spurs and probably talking more Cowboys. So we'll see you then.
Go Browns.